UK podcast, your one-stop shop for all the news, views and opinions on the NFL from this side of the pond. It's another full house at the Doghouse this week. Gary, John, Paul, Jim, say hello.
Hello.
Hi. Word up.
Hello.
Word up. I say it every time.
I know. 32 teams have played 4 games each, and we can really start to see where each team fits into this season-long jigsaw. We have our first power rankings of the season at the end of today's show, and I suspect disagreement abound. But before that, let's dive into Week 4 games with the best division in football right now, the NFC West, where firstly, the Cardinals, with surprising me, if I'm honest, 37 against the Rams 20. Wow, this was impressive for the Desert Birds to stop Stafford and co. and remain unbeaten.
So who 2 weeks ago was putting bets on the Cardinals doing well in that division?
Was it you?
Oh, yeah, it was, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember that, don't you?
No. I remember that bet you made about the Giants winning their division.
Never forgetting that one.
It starts already.
Let's talk Cardinals. This team's seriously impressive. I think it's their best start for like 10 years.
The last time they started 4-0, they finished 5-11.
Yeah. Shh. We're not discussing that.
I think the thing is, when you look through the roster and the players that are performing, it's not really that much of a surprise that they've got something there, is it? Because James Conner's, 2 touchdowns, 50 yards, it's fine, as well as Chase Edmonds getting 120 yards.
Yep.
And then when you go through their receiver core and you go, right, AJ Green. Oh, yeah, I remember AJ Green. He used to be really good. And DeAndre Hopkins, well, 2 years ago, he was the best wide receiver in the league. And Kyler Murray's 3 years into his NFL career now. So if there's going to be a time they're going to start being relevant, it's now. I think they sometimes get overlooked because of the division they're in. But that doesn't mean that they're not. I think we've said a number of times that they've got talent on that roster. But how do you pick the top 2 or 3 teams to come out of that division? It's very difficult. So, but it was impressive, wasn't it? In LA against a team that just beat the Bucs.
He's something else. He's so elusive and buys so much time. And when he makes a mistake, he erases it the next second he's on the field. It's so everything about it is so precise and so quick, and yet you feel like any play could be turned into another play immediately by him. It's like peak Russell Wilson. It's insane.
But this doesn't feel like Dingleberry's coaching, does it?
I don't know. I do you not think for a team to go to, is it SoFi, it's called, the stadium, and actually stop that Rams defense from getting to Kyler and overpower that Rams offense? It's got to be some coaching.
I think it was one play where Donald nearly got through to Murray, didn't he? And then he just kind of fell on his arse and had to get up and start chasing him again. And
it's not a fair foot race.
He's almost like a mix between Mahomes and Wilson, which is scary.
Yeah,
really scary.
I think the problems the Rams had is like their defensive line. The pressure all comes from the middle, and when you've got a player like Kyler Murray, he can escape at the edge. The Rams haven't got quality edge rushers. They've got Aaron Donald, who's brilliant, no doubt about that. But there's only one of Aaron Donald. There's not some quality coming off the edge to be able to contain Kyler Murray. And for that, he can just escape out. And we said it a couple of weeks ago. He's made some fantastic plays. He's one of those players like Mahomes, like Wilson. He can throw on the run. He keeps his eyes downfield. He can throw on the run, and he's accurate as well. And that works well against the Rams. So it'll be interesting to see how other teams can maybe exploit that.
But there's always this trepidation with him based on what we've seen in the past, because I think there's this part of me that thinks he could go from Russell Wilson to Zach Wilson next week.
That's a bit harsh. Zach was
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
You feel like it must drop off at some point, but he is just getting better.
And I think the other thing we've got to touch on a little bit is Stafford has looked great start of the season, new team, but he does sometimes throw badly timed interceptions. He did when he was at Detroit.
Yeah.
Like this week, his interception. I know he probably didn't call the play. He might have had a couple of options, but it was quite early in the game to be going for that risky of a play. It might be what McVay wants to do, and he might think he can do it. Now he's got Stafford, but Stafford has always thrown a fair amount of interceptions.
They also flashed a stat up on Red Zone about, I think last week, it's like, when McVay's winning at half time, he very rarely loses. But when he's losing at half time, he very rarely wins. I think your point is Stafford was chasing the game, which is why probably most of his interceptions at Detroit came when Detroit were chasing the game, because they probably always were. I don't think this Rams team is built to chase the game. I think maybe they need to establish that lead and then they can try and keep it and play sensible football, But they can't. Seemingly, there's something up with McVay's coaching where he can't adjust to be able to.
If he's losing at half time, he always loses.
He always loses. I think he's like 5-30 or something like that.
I apologise to him. He can't come from behind. That the process isn't there, is it?
Everybody can manage that. You've just got to adjust.
But I think this is.
I think we'll talk about that later.
But the Cardinals have got something now, and Gary's absolutely right here. Just the level of quality throughout the team, because they've always had one decent receiver, one decent running back. Carson Palmer was good, above league average, but they've got the ability to adapt, which they haven't had in the entire time I've watched the NFL. The Cardinals have been
I think if you actually kind of compare the two rosters and you go, right, a running back, there's Henderson and Michelle, or Connors and Edmonds. Which two would you take?
I'd take the Cardinals duo.
And then you go to wide receiver 1 and 2, and you go Cup and Woods, or Hopkins and AJ Green. That very closely.
Very close.
I mean, that's Hopkins and anyone I'd take over most receiving duos.
Yeah, but the way Cooper Kupp's playing this year, I think you could easily say he's top 3 receiver.
Yeah.
And actually, the Cardinals' secondary is better than most.
It is very good.
In what is quite a difficult position at the moment across the entire league. They're actually pretty decent.
Good front office as well, because they secured their secondary and paid them well. So Butter Baker as a safety is one of the best in the league.
Yeah,
comfortably.
Effectively, they've shown how to build the team. Let's not forget, this is a team that drafted Josh Rosen and then immediately went, oh, hang on. We've dropped a ball. We have to go back and do this again. And they made the right decision.
But it takes some cojones to do that, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Dave Cojones.
Yeah. He was their GM before.
But it does. And it shows you, as long as you don't linger on a bad decision, you can very quickly change your fortunes.
They got a second-round pick back for Josh Rosen.
Yes, they did.
Which now just looks amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know whether if anyone knows this or not, which is the division where all of the teams have most recently been to the Super Bowl, because the NFC West must be in with a shout.
Yeah, because the Cardinals still went within the last 10, 11 years.
Yeah, they were
It probably is
2010,
then.
I think. Yeah.
It's one of them. I just sat there looking at all the things. I was like,
I don't know the answer, but they would be my best guess.
yeah,
Seahawks have been 2 or 3 times recently. You guys have been.
twice.
The Rams have been recently.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals, was it 2010?
Yeah, 2 against the Steelers. They lost
So
Kurt Warner.
I would say it's probably them.
But that means potentially in the last.
Because in the AFC, it's only been the Patriots and the Steelers.
Yeah, so we
And
may
the
have,
Broncos.
that division may well have had 5 or 6 appearances in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Which is, when you think about it, out of the NFC, that's mad. I've never really thought about it before, but I was just sat there.
Sat there and thought about it.
Now you can sit there and look it up and see. Start ticking them off. No problem. Yeah.
We're not going to hear from Gary for the next 20 minutes while he looks this up.
It's going to be a difficult stat to research, that one.
I was delighted by the AJ Green performance. I think that playing on a Bengals team didn't inspire him to come back from the injuries. And I think maybe he's flown under the radar as a bit of a signing because he just not performed for the Bengals the last couple of seasons. Him alongside any credible number 1 receiver, that's difficult to cover.
I wouldn't have wanted to play for that Bengals team. Would you?
Well, I would have done now.
Were they
with
on
Joe
the
now?
Flores.
We would now, but at that time.
In the last few years when he's been there, you're absolutely right. I think the days of AJ Green being a number 1 receiver are gone.
Of course.
But he's experience-wise and the physicality of his game, he's still brilliant number 2. And they've got a lot of pace there with Rondale Moore as well, who they want someone to get over the top. They can just send him. If they want someone to come short and then run it, they just use him. It's the way they're using him is fascinating.
I also heard they've got Andy and Isabella when they want to come short.
Was that drum noise?
Quick show of proverbial hands around the table. Does anyone think the Cardinals are the best team in the NFL right now?
No.
And neither do I. So, moving on. Elsewhere in the same division, the Seahawks and the 49ers.
I'm glad we're getting this out of the way.
Yeah,
quickly.
I thought I'd bring it out at the top for you. So, Seahawks 28, 49ers 21. I don't know where to start with this one. You got Jimmy G getting injured, and yet the 49ers, both quarterbacks, outpassed Russell Wilson in terms of yardage. But ultimately, the special teams was a catastrophe. Robbie Gould gets injured pre-game. Mike Wisnowski, was he not the fella from
Wisnowski.
Mitch Wisnowski.
Yeah, that's him. Mike Wisnowski. Yep, that's him. That's what we're going with now.
Yeah.
So the monster fella there, turned out he can't do kicking. That was pretty poor. And then you cannonballs it up as well with Trent Cannon twice muffing kicks and punts. And oh man, it was terrible. It was properly bad. So pick it apart for me.
I have got my stat though. So
You're the stat.
NFC West have been 6 times in the last 12 years and won once, which is pretty poor. And the NFC East has the most titles of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks for that.
Best division in football.
Yeah. Special teams was bad, no doubt about that. But I'll look past that.
Really? You don't want to laugh at the guy trying to gain 3 extra yards and fumbling the ball
I
away?
can laugh at it. The guy's a fucking idiot. Move on. I think, look, the one massive benefit is the defense, and that the 49ers defense didn't deserve the 49ers offense on Sunday. I mean, they kept the Seahawks to, I think, like -7 yards in the first quarter.
Yeah.
They were absolutely brilliant. They played brilliantly throughout the game, even when they were put into shit positions on the field. The offense, though, okay, I said last week we're not starting very fast. They started brilliantly. 7 points on the board straight off the bat, brilliant. And then it just stuttered and nothing happened. And we're going into the half 7-7, and we had the ball so many times and nothing happened. Jimmy G gets injured because Jimmy G gets injured. This is why they drafted Trey Lance, because they can't trust the fact that Jimmy G is going to play more than 5 games. I think even didn't you say before the game? Oh, this is about the time, about now when actually Jimmy G starts getting injured.
So this is Jimmy G's career as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
2016, injured in his second start. 2017, started 5 games without injury. 2018, injured in third start. 2019,
he played the full season. That was when
full
we were at the
season.
Super Bowl.
2020, injured in second start. 2021, injured in fourth start.
Yeah.
Should not be playing professional sport.
When you actually take minutes on the field, he's got to be the highest paid quarterback in the league.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he's now going to be the highest paid backup in the league, because I think Trey Lance comes in, if he does okay over the next couple of weeks if Jimmy G's out. Then
So is Jimmy G definitely out for a couple of weeks? Because I heard that they're looking at him as a starter still for next week.
I saw on the injury report he's week to week, but he has a chance to play on Sunday. I just don't know why you would.
No, I don't. I think
Because he's just going to go on the field, he's going to get injured again, and he'll be out for the whole season, and then we've got Trey Lance and another quarterback.
Yeah, it's Lance time, isn't it? You got to let him go and see what happens.
I would have liked to seen him stay on the bench for the whole season, quite honestly, just to have that experience. Remember, he didn't play the college season last year, so he does need that experience. But fuck it, if Jimmy G's injured, throw him in and see what the kid do. He didn't do anything wrong on Sunday. 9 completions, 18 passes, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He looked a bit wild at times.
With our defense, you don't need to ask him to do too much.
No, exactly.
No, that's true.
We get away with it with Jimmy G.
We should mention the offense is the first ever to have 12 different players score the first 12 touchdowns in the season. That's mad.
If Cooper Kupp is top 3 wide receiver, then Deebo Samuel must be up there as well.
At one point, he was so far separated from the Seahawks defense.
That was just good.
Crazy.
I mean, that was just good play design
as well.
Yeah, he's a unit. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball. He can motor on the sideline. He's brilliant. He's having a great season. Touch wood, he stays fit as well.
Well, you do need him to. I thought there was quite a lot of relief that it wasn't an Achilles injury for Jimmy G, but I do think it's time to take the plunge and actually go with Trey Lance for 2 or 3 weeks. And because if he's not good, it doesn't sink your season. You can bring Jimmy back.
I think the only thing is that with that division, everyone's either got at least 2 wins, so 2-2, 3-1, or 4-0.
Yeah.
That means they are all starting the season still in the hunt. Definitely. No one's gone 1-3. Every single team still believes they can win that division, and it's a results now business, isn't it? So if Shanahan thinks he needs Jimmy G to win next week, then he'll play, won't he?
So the bigger issue than Jimmy G being injured is Trent Williams going off injured. If he's been playing lights out at left tackle, Jimmy's not been touched because of Trent Williams.
Yeah.
So if he's not back, then that's a much bigger issue than.
What's the injury?
Shoulder injury, I think.
We should talk a little bit about Russell Wilson when he avoided Bosa, managed to spin all the way around the other side of the pocket and throw a touchdown. That was quite impressive.
Yeah.
And yet he only threw 23 passes in the game. And it just feels like they're once again restricting him. They don't want him to throw many passes, and I don't get it because he looks glorious whenever they unleash him. It just feels like they're determined to, well, we want to run. It's like trying to play Ravens football.
I just don't know. They want their defence on the field that much.
Maybe, yeah.
Defense is bad.
It's not great.
Like, which shows how bad the 49ers offense was on Sunday. Is the Seattle Seahawks defense is pretty shoddy.
Yeah, I never also thought I'd see the day Kyle Juszczyk was the second best receiver on any team, but 41 yards.
Apparently he's a weapon.
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that mentioned several times. Anyone want to tell me when George Kittle is going to decide to turn up this season?
He's injured.
I know.
It is a bit of a problem.
No touchdown since week 6 last year. That is piss poor from a man on my piss poor fantasy team. Get a move on. Anyway, right.
I did offer you a trade for him.
I know, but
They manipulated some other trade.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah,
I'm guessing you tried to veto it as well.
I didn't. I went with it.
Jim wanted it on the action. Anyway, sticking with the NFC, the Cowboys 36 at Panthers 28, and this was great offense beats great defense, and Zeke reigniting his fire. This was the best Zeke game since the playoffs in 2018 when he was amazing.
Wasn't it also his longest single run since 2018?
I believe it was.
7 yards, yeah.
And he didn't even look knackered at the end of it, which is quite impressive. He shed all the chicken weight. He is now back to firing. It was very impressive. Him and Pollard as a 1-2. If they can do it consecutively over a number of weeks, that's great. It's exactly what the Cowboys need because Dak looks like one of the best passers in the league, and then they would have one of the best rushing games in the league. That offense is unstoppable, and now you've got Trayvon Diggs and the defense turning up on a weekly basis. 5 interceptions in 4 weeks for Diggs.
Do you know what? I watched quite a bit of this one, and I was just sat there thinking last year I predicted the Cowboys were going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And when I was watching it, I was like, this is why. Because all round they just look so good.
Yeah.
And Dak is so good.
And he has to throw 22 times.
But he does it with such accuracy.
But that's the best thing. You're not asking too much of the offense, and they're still putting up 36 points against a good defense as well. Let's not be like the Panthers are 3-0 going into this game, and
they will be. They've got the lead rusher.
Yeah,
Darnold.
Well, they also had
he leads running backs and everything. It's amazing.
Yeah, they also had the best rush defense, and Zeke and Pollard just literally walked all over them.
Yeah, and their offensive line looks great, doesn't it? It's just.
Everything on offense is ticking for them.
It's everything you thought the Cowboys were going to be last year, and a lot of people thought they were going to be. And it shows the difference between Andy Dalton and Dak.
Yeah. Also, credit Dan Quinn for coming in at defensive coordinator, and he's getting enough out of those players to actually win games now.
Well, he's reminding you how he became a head coach.
Yeah.
Also, he's got a massive point to prove. He'll have a huge chip on his shoulder this season.
Well, yeah, and rightly so. But some people just need to be coordinators. Matt Patricia is another one.
Yep.
Just needs to be a coordinator. Josh McDaniels, I suspect, would be another one.
Zimmer.
Toilet bowls.
Yeah, I don't know about Zimmer. I'm not sure on that one. He's a very good coordinator. I don't know about the Vikings.
Pat Shermer.
Yeah,
Pat Shermer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's someone who should never get a mention on here again. We should point out Darnold is the first quarterback ever with 5 rushing touchdowns in the first 4 weeks of the season. That's like better than Michael Vick.
He looks like he's properly matured now. He looks like he's ready for the league, doesn't he?
He looks confident, which I think he never had at the Jets.
I know they lost, but to play that well without McCaffrey, I thought was a sign of things to come. I think that's excellent because he just had the Lover Man as a backup.
Looks like a leader. It looks like a leader now as well. It's very different.
But they've got Chuba as well, haven't they?
That's what I said, the Lover Man.
You just get a Lover Man.
Yeah, I did, yeah. I was so delighted with that.
I wondered what that was referencing.
It was a very 90s reference just for me. I should be referring to him as that from now on.
That is a jump from Tuba to Jubba to Shabba.
Thank you very much. I was so pleased with that
That
earlier.
was ranks.
The sad thing is you thought of it earlier and held on to it.
I have held on to that all day. Yeah, absolutely. Dalton Schultz at tight end. Absolutely brilliant.
How many touchdowns did he get in the game?
He's not. No one's saying he's Jeff Swain.
Thank you.
But Freddie Swain, he's playing very well. As John pointed out, he's a brother from another mother and father. So the Cowboys then really showing us exactly what we thought they could be last year, and they've got to be up there as a Super Bowl contender. Like, you can say after 4 weeks, the defense is good enough, they will be a Super Bowl contender. They should walk this division, right?
Absolutely.
Paul?
A lot of football left to be played.
Only by about one team in their division.
If you'd have told me we would have beaten the Saints, I would have said, of course we would, because we're going to win the division.
All right, so the Cowboys lead the NFC East 3-1. Behind them, what the fuck moved to 2-2 with a 34-30 late win over the absolutely awful Falcons.
I can't wait to watch them on Sunday.
Oh my god!
Falcons Jets. It's going to be.
Oh,
great.
it's going to be car crash, isn't it? I can't wait.
I'm looking forward to the mac and cheese after.
At one point, I said to Griff, because I turned up late, and I was like, "Oh, this time next week you'll be watching the dogshit Jets and the Falcons, but at least they're both coming off a win." And it all went to tits from there.
They'll score points, won't they?
Yeah, I'd have thought so. It wasn't
Hopefully.
your finest curse, John, that you put on. No, the Falcons properly threw this one away again, but you can't tell me that Taylor Heineke is basically not channeling his inner Fitzmagic and just throwing the ball up to see what happens. The lob pass to McKissick, where he evaded everyone and threw it across the field, and then McKissick dived in and basically just wanted the touchdown more than any of the defenders wanted the tackle, was brilliant. He's such an underrated player, McKissick. I think full respect for what he managed to do with that pass. That was excellent.
Scary Terry is the star.
Scary Terry, because he allows you to just throw the ball up within an 8-foot radius of the guy, and he will catch it.
I think also when you look at the difference in running game, when Atlanta got to the Super Bowl, they did that off the back of a 1-2 punch at running back.
Yep.
Mike Davis and Kyle Shanahan. Mike Davis was averaging 1.1 yards per carry, which, according to the wide receiver in the metric system, who we were talking about a few weeks ago.
The metric system, yeah.
I do think there is a play call issue here, though, or a schematic issue, whatever you want to kind of say.
There's a lot of issues.
Because, like, I put it in the group, didn't I? But Calvin Ridley has turned into the new Julio. It's the, I know Pitts, they're still trying to get him involved and stuff, but Calvin Ridley is the best weapon on that offense by a mile.
Yeah.
And they can't get him involved properly. And it is so frustrating to watch because it's just exactly what happened to Julio.
I think if Kyle Pitts was in his second season, you'd see more out of Ridley, but teams know they don't have to pay as much attention to Pitts yet, and so Ridley's not getting open.
They need more pace.
Yeah.
That's what they need,
But
more
is that-
pace.
All right, we took the piss out of several players in our fantasy league for leaving this player on the bench this week, but Cordell Patterson has got pace.
3 touchdowns,
Yeah.
wow.
And like, he's acting as a receiver, as a running back. Sooner or later, if they keep that up, then teams are going to have to pay him attention, and hopefully that will free up Calvin Ridley to an extent.
Yeah, I think that's right. But I think if they just had a TY or a player of that ilk, it would help them hugely.
Of course.
Oh, you're not gonna scheme a Russell Gage. You're going, if you've got Jones one side, Ridley the other. You can't put attention both ways,
No.
can you? Where it's Ridley and some guy.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Olamendi Zacchaeus.
Sorry?
Olamendi Zacchaeus.
Zacchaeus.
That's him.
Like, yeah.
Bless you.
Yeah, exactly. Tajay Sharp is the other one. I mean,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Well, I mean, to be
not
fair,
great.
Cordell Patterson having a Jeff Swain game, good on him.
Yes, absolutely. That's always to be referred to as a Jeff
Paul to
Swain.
Jeff Swain.
I am not looking forward to watching the Falcons, other than the fact that I think the Jets can score plenty of points on them because their defence is atrocious. But Matt Ryan looked just so done. Like, what more can he do? He is by far and away the best thing about this team, and yet he looks like a guy who should have pulled a Stafford and left.
The only positive thing they've got going is next week they play the Jets.
Yeah, that's about it. That's all you can take from that.
I'm
I
not
think.
sure he'll ever get the chance to leave now, though.
No, maybe
I
not.
think maybe it's a year too late now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if he became available, a team would have him next year.
The Texans, maybe.
The Texans take anyone right now, aren't they?
That's what I mean.
Have they not called you yet?
Yeah, would he go to the Texans?
No,
Maybe.
probably not. Well, you
I
reckon?
don't know.
You pay somebody enough money, they'll go anywhere.
Yeah. Is that how you got married? Shh. Right, elsewhere in the division, the Eagles, they actually played all right, but ultimately fall 42-30 at home to the Chiefs. I was really impressed with Jalen Hurts in this. I know the Chiefs' defence is not that good, but he played fine. Like, he looked okay.
every week we're saying we're impressed with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And,
I'm not.
but when we're talking in the pre-season, everyone was making him out like he was this massive liability. I think he's decent.
Yeah, I mean, if you consider he's still technically a rookie quarterback, he's pacing the rest of the rookie quarterbacks. He's only got, 9 starts?
Yeah.
So he's doing better than most of the rookie quarterbacks are. I think he's been okay. No problem at all.
He took a number 2 overall pick out of the Eagles team.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'd come over to him later on. But Kansas City, though, they
were back to their best.
Yeah, firing all cylinders. Was it 5 touchdowns for Mahomes?
5 touchdowns.
2 underhand passes. Very weird.
They had 7 possessions and they put 42 points up.
What they did was they had one of their hot streaks.
Where Tyreek is
They go
open.
crazy, yeah.
Yeah, and the Eagles' defense is really bad.
But I think the Chiefs' defense is a problem.
Yeah,
You know,
it is.
It's a real problem, and they won't be able to score 40 points against the best teams, which is what we saw in the Super Bowl last time.
Absolutely.
They've got the Bills on Sunday. Sunday night football's Chiefs against Bills, and it's in Kansas City, which I think favours Kansas slightly. But I mean, I've picked the Bills for it.
As have I. John as well.
I've not done my picks yet.
But they've got Frank Clark coming back next week. They've also got Willie Gay, which is my favourite name in the league, coming back.
Better or worse than Willie Beavers, because he was my favourite. I am so mature. Andy Reid, 100 wins for 2 teams. First person ever to achieve that.
I like that he's done it against the other team.
I know, yes. It couldn't have been. But it's one of those properly poetic moments.
It's good to see him on the sideline after last week, really.
Well, yeah, that's it.
Just a bit of indigestion.
Choked on a cheeseburger.
Yeah, probably.
That's an impressive
Climbed
record,
a flight of stairs.
See, I was pleased that my cheeseburger coming got an eye roll from John.
Hey, you got to credit the guy, though. He maybe doesn't get enough credit for the fact that to lead 2 teams to 100 wins is really impressive. Like, really, the Eagles, I know they won a Super Bowl without him eventually, but you got to think, well, how much of a great team could they have been if they'd have just stuck with it? Like, he was learning, they were learning, everything was rolling. He'd still be there. He'd have worked all the way through.
I don't know. And I agree. He's a great coach, but at the end of his tenure at Philadelphia, they were pretty poor.
Yeah, they
needed a change, and I think that they made the change. It worked out for them. They didn't need to change it again, but they did. And
do you not think the Eagles regret it?
No, because they got a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think they would have still won a Super Bowl.
I'm not sure they would have done. So I'm not sure they would have made the same decisions.
They've been a disaster since they won the Super Bowl.
They absolutely have.
But that's happened to a lot of teams.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
you remember the good times. And as a Giants fan, I can say that quite readily.
Yeah. I will say, Jalen Hurts played well. They're asking him to pass 48 times.
But they've got nothing else.
Well, Miles Sanders, what did he run
He's
for?
awful. He's so bad.
Miles Sanders had 7 carries for 13 yards. You know,
he's rubbish.
Can you give me that on the Demetric scale?
Kenneth Gainwell outgained him. He was that bad.
As we know, Kenneth Gainwell doesn't, but he actually played okay.
He did. 3 carries for 31 yards.
I mean, you can't complain at that, can you? It's
He's
Paul's got the Demetric scale
That's
out.
13 yards.
13 yards, yeah.
468 inches. Actually sounds quite impressive, doesn't it?
You wait until we get to New England.
Ask your wife. Right. Finally, in the NFC East, the last of the teams to get off the mark is the Giants win. Woo! John was delighted.
I told you.
You did. Winning in overtime, 27-21 over the oddly hapless Saints on the day. This did not work for the Saints. I'm not sure what they were trying to do.
Not oddly hapless, though. I disagree. I think they've
inconsistent.
been inconsistent and hapless all the time. They had a great win against the Packers, and then they lost to the Panthers miserably.
Yeah.
Then
They need Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
They
got lucky against the Patriots, and then they lose to the Giants.
Too much Taysom Hill in this game. They don't feel comfortable letting Jameis try and win the game, so they brought Taysom Hill in, and then he throws a terrible interception. He did rush for at least 1 touchdown. It may have been 2.
2 he got Taysom.
But did he also not get stopped on 3rd and 4?
It is ruining my fantasy team as well.
Yeah.
You know, Kamara. Give the ball to Kamara.
Pass it to him a bit more as well.
I haven't got Taysom as a fucking tight end.
Did he have?
He didn't have any. He didn't have any targets. Alvin Kamara, he's a great running back, but he's also a great receiving running back. And to not even try to pass the ball to him just seems really odd.
He's not a great running back. He's a catching back. I think he's been asked to run more than 15 times 4 times in his career.
He did run the
3 of those are this year.
He did run the ball well last week.
He is a receiving back. That's what he's good at. And they're not doing it because Taysom Hill and Jameis aren't the right quarterbacks for Alvin Kamara. They're not. They've got the best catching back in the league, and they're not using him.
I agree with you. He is the best catching back in the league, but he played well as a running back. Like 26 carries, 120 yards. It was good stats for him.
And then Taysom took his touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, you must be devastated. What John is getting at is Alvin Kamara was far more potent as a point-scoring weapon with Latavius Murray in the team to do the hard yards, and then you open the field up, and Alvin Kamara suddenly running free. And that is exactly what has happened. They have lost their best quarterback and the lead running back. He wasn't the best running back, but they've lost the lead running back, who then opens the field for Kamara.
Well, you had Mark Ingram before that.
I was going to say Mark Ingram. Is it Mark Ingram I meant? Sorry.
No. They had both. It was Mark Ingram, and then it was Latavius Murray.
You're right. So, the battering ram is effectively what I'm getting at.
Exactly.
That's what they've lost. And
It's
Kamara isn't that.
Well, it's effectively what the Cowboys are doing with Pollard and Zeke.
Yes.
Zeke's acting as that battering ram. Tony Pollard comes in as a speed guy. Like, the Saints haven't got that battering ram anymore.
No, and it shows that, I don't know, the Saints, if it wasn't for the fact the Falcons are so terrible, the Saints would be just swimming at the bottom of this division. They're not likely to make the playoffs at this rate, in my opinion.
No, I can't see it.
Because I don't think 3 teams come out of this division.
So I'm going to just change tack here. The Saints were terrible, right? The Giants were pretty good.
Yeah, so I was getting to that. Let's be fair then. The Giants played very well. Saquon, that's his best game for...
Getting back to full fitness.
Since he's been well.
Yeah.
Last two games, Daniel Jones has been brilliant.
Flawless. Do you know, the interception was a 55-yard heave at the end of the half.
Yeah, you can't count that.
So take that off, and he was flawless, like really good. He rushed as well for yards. Did everything that you'd want out of a quarterback. So fair play for the Giants for sticking with him. And if he can turn in 4, 5, 6 weeks of this is what John was saying to me when we were watching the game. If he does this over 6 weeks, fine. That's great. It's when he then next week throws 4 interceptions or fumbles the ball 3 times or whatever you feel is coming. He can't do that anymore.
I think also that one of the biggest differences is Slayton and Shepard are now injured. Golladay's finally getting into the game. Kadarius Toney, the rookie wide receiver, looks amazing. John Ross even looked decent.
Props to John Ross.
A good touchdown.
It was a great touchdown.
He went past those 2 defenders, and I swear the breeze spun them round. He was so fast. The only thing is, you feel he could be injured by tomorrow, because he's always injured by tomorrow. But what a great pickup. If he can do that 3 or 4 times this season.
If you're not relying on John Ross to be your number 1 or number 2 receiver, and you're just there, it's like, right, just...
What did Golladay end with? 106 yards?
116
yards.
116 yards.
6 catches, 116.
That's proper wide receiver 1 level.
Tell Slayton and Shepard to bugger off, because those three receivers playing like that are almost unbeatable.
Golladay and John Ross, injury.
Shepard and Slayton were never ones, were they?
No.
Who did we have last season?
Golden Tate.
Thank you.
Yeah, you didn't have any ones last year.
But that's not number 1.
I would
But
say
he could have
Shepard
been.
was
He's
considered number 1.
Sterling Shepard was the default number 1. He's now number 3.
Golladay, I thought was a fantastic pickup.
Yeah, I
he
did.
is, absolutely.
And
they should never let him go out of the lines.
He will make Daniel Jones a better player.
Yes, I agree. I just need to see him stay on the field for the whole season.
I'm not sure it'll make Daniel Jones a better player. I think he might just make him look better.
Well, that's fine. I'm happy with him looking better.
I'm still not convinced by Daniel Jones. I'm going to be the one that...
Of course. Neither am I. But if he does it over 6 or 7 games...
Then he might get them to 6 and 9.
Yeah.
If it's 6 and 11, it'll be this year.
You gotta remember,
not winning the division.
This is a toilet division.
Yeah.
So I just... Now we're seeing the injuries subsiding. We're seeing players come back to full fitness. This on paper, this Giants roster is really good.
Yep, give it time. Should we talk about Jabril Peppers and the overtime coin toss?
I'm still struggling to move on from the roster's really good.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with that one a little bit.
I'll go...
Really good?
I'll
Come
go
on,
as
John.
far as
Angry
good.
John.
It is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Good.
a number one pick, first round draft pick at wideout, Golladay, who's one of the best in the league last couple of seasons. I wouldn't say best in the league, right? Top 15? Golladay?
No.
Could be.
Yeah,
Not at the moment. He's got potential.
He was prior to this. Saquon Barkley, generational talent.
I would say
running back.
you've got a league average roster. That would just be...
We've got a good roster.
I think we've got a good roster that's
There's
been
better.
poorly
I've
coached.
got you down from very good, so...
No, but I think we've got a good roster that's been poorly coached. and I think we've got a. And the question mark always was the quarterback, and if we can question the quarterback less, then that's fine. But yeah, it's still, and defensively, I mean, the Titans would kill to have Adoree Jackson back, and James Bradbury is a great player. We've lost Martinez, which is a shame because he's been a bit of a beast. But
we've still got two great safeties as well.
Yeah,
Peppers and the other guy we picked up last year,
McKinney.
Yeah, Xavier McKinney.
That's the one.
So yeah, there's talent there, but yeah, it's been squandered for too long.
So, Gibral Peppers.
It's a great safety.
It's like trying to herd sheep. No, not sheep. Cats. That's the one. Christ, it's been a long day. Right. That was one of the best bits of television of all time. I'm just going to swear in front of everyone.
It's his birthday.
He was
Why not?
confident. Absolutely. But that is what I want to see out of my team. If I'm a Giants fan and I see that, and that guy is like, we want that motherfucking ball. We're going to go and do this. I want that. That's great. That's what this team should exude. You're New York. You should be better than this. And I was delighted that they got on the board. I can't say enough about how disappointed I am in the Saints this season, but I can't pretend I wasn't expecting it either. So I don't know what New York's next 3 or 4 games are like, but I seem to remember we discussed at one point it was possible they could go 0-10. So
Cowboys, Rams, Panthers,
Chiefs after that as well.
It's not pretty. That's unfortunate, but at least you're off the donut. That's the main thing. After the Panthers, Saints, and Falcons all lost, it was time to see if the Bucs could recover from last week's loss. And a certain Tom Brady came back to Foxboro to take on the Patriots. Ultimately, the Bucs won 19-17, and the Patriots weren't good enough. However, I did stay up. I did watch the whole game. And I'm telling you, it was a 50-50 game. Belichick took away everything that Brady wanted to do. And in the end, Belichick's decision to go for field goal was wrong. He blinked in the final moment. I think Nick Folk's career long is like 56 yards, and this was a 56-yard field goal attempt in the most miserable weather, and they should have allowed Mac Jones to go for it on 4th and 3.
The way Mac Jones was playing as well.
I am so pleased with Mac Jones so far this season. I know it's early. I know he could turn into the next Daniel Jones as easily as he could turn into the next whoever good you want to pick, but
you couldn't think of another quarterback called Jones, could you?
No, I really couldn't. But he was fine. He equaled Brady's record of 19 consecutive completions. Yes, a lot of them are check downs. And yes, I really think he's going to struggle in the long term without James White, who's done for the year. And by the way, if I was the Patriots, I'd be looking to find out whose roster Rex Burkhead is on and what do we have to give up to get him to come back. Yeah, well, they're not using him. So get him back.
Part of their 12 running backs they have in their roster.
But he was the James White backup. He knows that role. He could come in and do that. They should absolutely go and get Rex Burkhead back.
New England rushing stats: 8 carries for -1 yard.
What's
that?
It's the worst ever in New England.
It's -36 inches.
The old Demetric scale again.
And we're not going back to the previous measurement of the length of my dick.
What I don't get is, okay, yeah, James White is
-36 Paul Farrows.
But it's fair.
It's cold out there.
James White's not there, but why not give the other players a bit more of a chance? Okay, Damian Harris had the most carries of 4 for -4 yards. Every other player only had 1 chance at running the ball.
I really don't know. It felt like it should have been a game where we were running the ball because of the weather. So I don't know why.
Weather, rookie quarterback.
The only thing I can think
against
is
the Super Bowl champions.
And
for me, that's run the fucking ball.
These two things play off against each other, but it looked like they thought, hang on, Mac Jones is actually playing really well. We should just let this roll. And they did that all the way to the end of the game and then bottled it.
If I'd have offered you as a Patriots fan 19-17, but losing by 2 points, you'd have bit my hand
snap
off.
Your hand off. I thought this was going to be a bloodbath. I even put that in our chat group at 1 in the morning. I was like, well, let this beating commence. I thought it was going to be 40-12 or something absolutely ridiculous.
And I hear all of that. But then last year you started 2-3.
Yeah.
Your worst start since 2002.
Yeah. Now it's the worst start since 2001.
So
we did win the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah, so I suppose the point is where, I suppose you can look at this as a first 4 games, but where do you see this team actually getting to by the end of the season?
I think
with no running game,
I think it will be exactly the same as last year. I think we'll just finish outside the playoffs, and I think it will look like we haven't made any progress. But I now think it's more likely we have the.
Do you
right
not think some of the other teams, although
No.
Miami have been disappointed?
No, I
haven't
don't.
They?
I
Miami
think
should be better than they are.
Losing
but-
this game is far less painful than losing against Miami.
Yeah.
Because we should have beaten Miami. We fumbled the ball with 30 seconds to go. We got beaten by the Saints. I don't think you can complain too much. It was, but on another day you win it. But we got beaten by the Saints. We beat the Jets. The only issue for me is it's a lot of field goals and not a lot of touchdowns. What have we scored most in a game so far? 20 points once.
Yeah.
That's the only issue. But I'm really pleased that we've got a young quarterback. I said 4 years ago I would move on or have somebody backed up. Now, a lot of people have been wrong, and I was wrong. And if we had Brady, you'd think we'd probably be better. But I'm not sure he does a lot more with what's around him. We've not got any explosive players. Nelson Aguilar is doing nothing.
Well, I did warn you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, don't warn me. I didn't sign him.
But your tight ends haven't been great either, have they? So
Johnny Smith scored, but
Hunter Henry scored as well. They finally turned up and got a little bit of production.
this week.
I think it'll just
one
be
week.
interesting to see how long this rebuild.
Yeah,
Because it is, it might not be a major teardown, but it's still a rebuild, isn't it?
It's fairly big.
So,
yeah.
how long is that going to take? It's just interesting to see how long is Belichick going to go on for.
I think they'll bury him there. You brought up the fact that, and I haven't got it in front of me, but the Brady Belichick differential in win percentage without each other. I don't. If somebody wants to bring it up, that's fine. I don't have it. Does it occur to anyone that Brady went from a team that didn't have a lot around him to the best roster in the NFL, whereas Belichick hasn't just had to replace a quarterback; he's had to work with some of the worst wide receiving players you've seen.
Oh, but the wideout calls his fault.
And no, but the whole team had to be rebuilt. That was and a defense that lost 9 players last year.
So Brady has played 24 games without Belichick with an 18-6 record.
Mm-hmm.
Belichick has got a 64-77 losing record without Brady.
Yeah,
but a lot of those are the Browns.
a lot of those
They were with the
Browns.
Browns, and a rebuilding Patriots. But
That
was a rebuilding Browns at the beginning.
Let's remember what Bill has done without Brady when Brady was there. So the Matt Castle years, the Brissett and Garoppolo. But let's not cover it up. It's a major rebuild for the Patriots, really. I don't think they've found any of their long-term wide receivers. Like, what happened to Kendrick Bourne this week?
He was all right, 5.58.
Yeah, but I keep getting told, wait for the breakout,
You're playing the best defence in the league.
Yeah, all their secondary's injured at the moment.
Yeah, the secondary is terrible. Up front, I understand why the running game didn't work. But this is what I said. If we played this game in week 16, 15, something like that, I think we win this game. Because I think Mac Jones will be better. And they'd have just gone for it. But I think Bill blinked and we didn't win the game. That's it.
I don't think you're a million miles off. I think you're...
It was about an inch off the post.
No, I meant the team overall. 'Cause you look at it and you have to give Belichick credit in terms of like his defensive scheming alongside kind of Matt Patricia, because
there were no consecutive plays with the same defensive coverage.
Your defense will keep you in games.
Well, exactly.
But your offense won't be good enough to win them.
But that's the problem. So if you get a running game, suddenly that all changes. Because I think
you can't buy that from Target.
No,
but Belichick's got a record of doing that in the past, of getting some random guy off the street.
I wonder what Jonas Gray is up to these days.
Well, exactly. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year,
Yeah.
but it's not like you're the Texans. I think there are a lot of pieces there.
Are they like the year when the Niners went 4-12 and were within a score?
Yeah,
6-7
exactly.
times?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
It's a bit like that.
Good analogy.
I think that's perfectly
This
fair.
is making it an attractive destination for free agency next season. This is making it an attractive
Do you know,
place for
the other
drafting.
thing with Mac Jones is I think the ceiling is the lowest of all those first-round quarterbacks taken. I think the floor is by far the highest.
Yeah.
Like, he's only got this narrow band to work in, but I don't think he could have shown any more with what's around him over 4 weeks. So I'm perfectly happy with where we're at. I really wish we hadn't lost to the Dolphins. I don't care about this game in terms of an actual result. This was fine. The Packers overcame the Steelers 27-17 in Green Bay, and Big Ben once again shat the bed. He is sinking this team with his full-on old man play. How long will the Steelers put up with this? I asked this question last week. I'm going to ask it every week. He has gone off the cliff. It is not good.
He's pulling a full Peyton Manning.
Yeah, but their defense isn't as good as the Broncos' defense.
He will play all season.
He will play all season
What a
because there's no one there to replace him, really.
You don't think Dwayne Haskins is worth a look?
No.
No, nobody does. Fair enough.
Nobody does.
This is the problem. You know, Mason Rudolph isn't under contract there next season. So they could
not
lose
a bad
Mason
thing.
Rudolph and Big Ben.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I'm
If
saying.
you're picking in the top 8, you've got plenty of room to pick your next
Jim,
quarterback.
how many of the college quarterbacks are actually going to be any good?
It's not looking good.
Spencer Rattler, maybe?
It's not looking great, to be honest. Even like Spencer Rattler was the Heisman favourite going into the league, but he's not. Oklahoma haven't been playing well.
They were booing him last week and calling for him to be dropped, weren't they?
So, it's not great.
So not a good year to be needing to replace your quarterback.
It's not the best.
There's always one
Look,
or two
there-
good quarterbacks
there
that come out of the draft.
look,
they
there
might
will-
not be seen as the big next
Sure.
thing. Half the time, the big next thing isn't the big next thing, is it?
But you look at the year Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson came out. Mitch Trubisky obviously went second because no one thought that those players would be the players they turned out to be in more ways than one. And it could be like that. Deshaun Watson.
I understood.
Yeah. It was the eyebrow raise. I was querying. And I think that could be the case this round.
Just not sure you could ever replace Big Ben with Deshaun Watson. I don't think
No,
that
you
should
couldn't.
ever be allowed.
But there will probably...
In some ways, it's very like for like.
Yeah. There will be 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the first round, and chances are the Steelers will pick one.
I
at this
don't
rate.
think it's time to sound the alarms yet.
I do.
Yeah, it is.
They were 10 points from a Green Bay team that has an elite running back and one of the best quarterbacks of all time.
Because the Steelers' defence is good. Even
Well,
if it's not fully formed, it's good.
And because they were 2 scores ahead, so they just start managing
Yeah.
clock. Game. Sometimes you see, if you just look at the stat line, you can go, right, yeah, it's fine, 10 points, it was reasonably close, but a lot of the time it's not,
The time of possession, Packers had 34 minutes to the Steelers 25. It's a big swing.
What happened to the other minute?
Wow, it's one of those floating minutes.
34, 41 seconds.
We've been talking in 2 or 3 of the cases of the results of 1-2 punches from the backfield. AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones, that's really good.
Dillon looks really good,
Yeah.
doesn't he?
Seriously impressive. You add that to the fact that Randall Cobb finally turned up after basically being dragged back in as the sort of the counterweight to keeping Rodgers happy. And suddenly he was producing. This was good stuff. So if Rodgers can manoeuvre this team and get all the bits working at the same time, suddenly they become a real hot favourite to get at least to the championship game.
Here's an interesting scenario. What happens if Rodgers goes to the Steelers next year?
There's been some talk of this, hasn't there?
But why not? Rodgers wants out of the Packers. He's only going to be there this year. That's well documented. The Broncos has always been the favourite, and I still probably think it is. But the Steelers are going to be, and to be fair, the Saints could be 2 teams that need quarterbacks.
I think the Steelers' offense is an interesting one because Harris looks like he is going to be decent.
Yep.
I think we can all see that straight away. Maybe not a superstar, but he looks decent for the first 4 games. I think the receiver core, they don't seem to know who their main target is, who's doing what. There seems to almost be too much choice.
Yep.
You've got Johnson, Claypole, Smith-Schuster. The list just goes on and on and on and on. And,
And they're good at drafting receivers.
exactly,
as well.
they've just got a lot of them. The thing that gives me hope for that team, not that I really care, but, but like if I was a Steelers fan, would still be Mike Tomlin because I think he will make the appropriate decisions with the leadership in that, in that dressing room as well to really make the right decisions for next year. They're not going to win the Super Bowl, are they?
No.
Clearly not, And TJ Watt isn't there. So you can't, he's the most expensive piece on that team. He's the best player in that team. It's a big miss.
I think the most important thing that they fix is the offensive line because that's still
so porous.
It's porous. Yeah, I think you'd be seeing more Najee Harris if the offensive line would be better. I think what he's been able to do over the last 2 to 3 weeks has been that much more impressive given the line he's playing with.
I'm going to try and remember the stat, but basically Ben was the first quarterback in the last 20 years to complete 2 passes in the same game for negative yards because he cannot pass the line of scrimmage with his passing.
Well, he's run about 15 yards backwards, and he's about 50.
Yeah, he can't scramble
It's
anymore
not
like
good.
he used to.
He just looks old. And if Mike Tomlin wants to keep everybody going in the same direction, I wouldn't be surprised if they do seat Ben because I don't know how you keep a team playing hard when ultimately the one person in the team that is responsible mostly for the results isn't capable of performing. Don't forget, Peyton Manning was playing terribly for the Broncos and he got injured and they replaced him with Osweiler.
There's a big difference here, and you raise a good point with Osweiler. I see this a bit like when the Giants when Manning was on the tail end.
Yes,
those
exactly
4 years.
But it's exactly the same. But the problem is, Osweiler coming in, Osweiler was a decent backup. I'm not saying he's great, but he was decent. This is like, you bring Rudolph in, or you bring Haskins in. It's like bringing Geno Smith in to replace Manning. You're also going to erode his confidence. I just think that's going to be a horrendous decision. He's got enough equity built in Pittsburgh that I think he's going to be there for the rest of the season and probably ride out.
I don't think Ben's the type of player that you can sit him and he's going to shut up. Whereas Peyton Manning was professional in the sense that, okay, he'd probably understand he's not playing well. We're going to sit you, we're going to protect you, get you fit again, hopefully, and you'll come back and be average. I think as soon as you sit Ben Roethlisberger, I think there's a massive issue there.
I mean, also, just in his size, there's a massive issue there.
Literally a massive issue, yeah. He lost a lot of weight.
Still a thumb.
So, Big Ben became the 8th quarterback to pass for 400 touchdowns in the NFL. Want to have a go at naming the 7 players above him? Yes.
Marino.
Yes.
Breeze.
Yes.
Manning.
Yep.
Manning.
Brady.
Yep.
Rodgers?
Yes.
Rivers.
Yes. Phillip Rivers, number 5. Boom. Hall of Famer, Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, we're all with his achievements of the AFC
Matt
Offensive
Ryan,
Player of the Week.
Matt Ryan is 10. But who's number 9 behind Roethlisberger?
Stafford.
No. He is 14.
Eli Manning.
Eli Manning. Yeah. Rocking it in the top 10 there, Eli. Well done. And rounding out the top 15.
You forget
Fran
how he
Tarkenton,
threw.
the oldest one on there.
Where's Montana?
I was going to say, you look at that list. And
Montana
think
is
about
19.
How football's changed.
Yeah. That's the
Because
thing.
there's only Dan Marino as an old quarterback, shall we say. The others we can all remember playing.
They play for almost double the career now, don't
Yeah,
they?
that's true. It's very true.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Right.
Can I just mention each week how much must Smith-Schuster regret taking a pay cut not to join the Chiefs?
Yeah,
He took $2 million less a year to stay in.
Did the Chiefs really want him? It doesn't strike me as a Chiefs player.
Well, I think the Chiefs would be better with him.
Yeah,
he'd be catching a ball at least because he looks so frustrated on the sideline at the moment.
Well, I understand it. It's very easy to overthrow a 5'10" man.
The AFC North is taking shape above the Steelers starting last Thursday night.
I guess I'll go fuck myself then.
Yes, you will. As the Bengals snatch a last gasp win away from the Jags 24-21, the Bengals only led on the final play of the game. The Jags showing some improvement, finally playing James Robinson properly again. Trevor Lawrence actually played well. None of this is relevant because Urban Meyer
is a dirty perv, apparently, according to this.
In here, Urban Meyer is a dirty perv. He left his wife at home babysitting. And John, what was Urban Meyer up to?
Dirty dog. What I love about our setup is how it's like we're like some sort of award ceremony, and John's the guy at the end who can't get to talk, and every now and again he gets the mic. It's just so random.
So yeah, he decided to stay in Ohio to see his grandchildren because it's of course normal for the head coach not to travel back with the team. And then,
Were his grandchildren at a lap dancing bar?
Well, it seems that he
Strange
forgot.
career choice for someone with such,
It seems he forgot about his grandchildren quite quickly, and went to a bar, and he was photoed draped around some young women, and also at one point getting a lap dance. It seems. And it leads to quite a few questionable decisions he's made over the last few months. I could go into it if you want me to. Okay, so first of all, he hired Chris Doyle, who was accused of bullying and racist remarks. Of course, Chris Doyle barely got through the door because as soon as Urban Meyer hired him, he had to resign. So good choice there. He made the quarterback battle between Gardner Minshew and Trevor Lawrence, which of course never existed, but of course it meant that you didn't give the number one pick and the future quarterback of your team, you only give him half the reps in practice this year. And he's just a dick.
I mean, you have to wake up half an hour early every morning to hate that man, don't you?
I do. But yeah, he's had to issue a sort of grovelling apology to the team and to Shad Khan, the owner.
It's interesting because I had Shad Khan's statement, and I think I can summarise Shad Khan's statement essentially.
It was less than convincing, wasn't it?
Yes.
That's 2 R. Kelly references on our podcast in the last 2 weeks.
Brilliant.
Paul, what was it you said about if you were being paid millions of pounds?
I'd be grinded by some women, by a blonde woman in a club.
Now, Jim has been on all sorts of work trips. He can't tell me he's never seen a colleague have that experience.
You're right, I can't.
Anyway, regarding the result, this is the most competitive the Jags have been. Fair play.
All that aside, the Jags have been getting slightly better week on week.
Yes, they have. They are improving. You look at them compared to week 1.
Yeah.
Much better. But this is a different Bengals team. This is a team that can win now. And I would like to say at this point, I am now in on Zach Taylor's doing a good job.
It's only taken 3 years.
I'd like to apologise to Zach Taylor for putting him as the first coach to get sacked in my predictions.
I also had him as the first coach to get sacked. And Joe Burrows is saving him his job.
Yes, he is. They're doing just enough to protect him. And Joe Burrows is coming through and looking clean and confident. This is great. Elsewhere in the same division, the Ravens end Denver's unbeaten start, 23-7. This game basically hinged on Teddy Bridgewater getting knocked out of the game at half-time. Can we finally put to bed the fact that there was ever a battle between Teddy and Drew Lock? Because Drew Lock was booed by the fans coming in and then played pretty crap.
Yeah, I don't think that was ever an argument with anyone around this table, was it?
No, they argued amongst themselves. It didn't seem sure.
They tried to suggest it was a battle in.
It never should have been. Drew Lock just looked confused when he came in. This lends credence to the fact that the Broncos have played possibly the 3 worst games they could play to open the season. And as soon as they came up against a half-decent team, they struggled. Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, back to make
Caught the ball.
I know. What a catch
really
as well.
Caught the ball.
Actually caught the ball.
A diving catch. I was delighted to see that. This was one of Lamar's better passing games. I think it was his second most yards passing.
Yeah, he looked good. He had 22 from 37, 316 yards, touchdown, no interception. It helps when your receivers catch the ball. I mean, to be fair, a lot of the drops last week weren't on him. That was on Marquise Brown just being
terrible last week.
Bad.
He had a bad game. We did discuss this before, but we'll bring it up here. Vic Fangio, very angry about the fact the Ravens wanted 2 yards to keep up to the record of 100 yards rushing in 1,004,000 consecutive games.
Well, if you've got a problem with it, stop it.
Yeah, stop it beforehand.
Basically, old man Fangio threw his toys out the pram, and we all think the Ravens were perfectly entitled to do what they did, right?
Yeah, the only thing, it caused a lot of controversy, depending on how you pronounce it. Because he came out with he said the word bullshit in the press conference, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, the bullshit was them.
Yeah, well, I like the fact that he just says what he thinks, but he was wrong. Because if the Ravens want to do that, why should they kneel on it? You're perfectly entitled to run a play, aren't you?
Yeah, well, like if you're playing Madden, for example,
Yeah.
you're crucifying the other player. You just keep going, didn't you?
I think
like,
10 years of playing Madden, I might have knelt twice.
Yeah, It's a pussy move, isn't it, John?
I think that's what Urban Meyer was doing. Anyway, the Browns and the Vikings played possibly the dullest game of Week 4. Cleveland winning 14-7. Baker wasn't great. He clearly missed Jarvis Landry.
Possibly the worst game that I've seen him play.
Worst game since his second season.
Yeah.
His rookie season was very good. The second.
Browns' defense is just great.
Oh,
God,
fantastic.
it's amazing.
But this was more about the fact the Vikings scored on their opening possession and then did nothing for the whole game.
be fair, the Browns didn't really do anything in the whole game. There was 3 points in the second half.
Just it was so dull. Does anyone actually want to spend time discussing this?
No.
I think the only I was going to say the only thing to discuss is Dalvin Cook isn't fit.
Why did they play him?
I don't know.
Did they give him like 10 carries?
9 carries.
9 carries for a Pharaoh?
No, 9 carries for 34 yards. It's not terrible.
No.
But it's not Dalvin Cook. But some of that is down to the
Why would you play him against the Browns?
Mattison
the
played
Browns.
so well the week before. Why would you risk it? It's a very strange decision for me.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins didn't look good. Baker Mayfield didn't look good.
Beckham was back.
And could have had a touchdown if Baker Mayfield could find him.
Kirk Cousins, before we start having a go at Kirk Cousins, is like number 4 in fantasy.
He's had a good
he's
had a good
Oh,
season.
first interception.
This is a bad game for him. That was all.
He had the best QBR coming into this week in the league, but that Browns defense is legit.
Do you not think that Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield might be quite similar players?
Yep.
Like, if it's all on them...
Yeah, they're
you
both
ain't
a-holes.
winning. But if you just... But if you just want them to quarterback a decent team, you'll probably win quite a lot. As soon as you pile it on their shoulders, fail.
Yeah.
I really do think... And that's fine, and they'll both play in the league for a while like that. That's fine. But I reckon they're fairly well matched.
Is the fact that Zimmer's seat burning hot, the fact that he's risked Dalvin Cook there. I think it didn't work. That's why he only got 9 carries. But because his seat is so hot, it's quite uncomfortable. He's making some silly calls.
I think the Vikings have got the most unluckiest record. You look at that 1-3 record; they deserve to be 2-2 at least. They've just had some unfortunate errors.
Speaking of unfortunate errors, Urban Meyer, his seat was hot. just saying, I feel like this might come up again, like Urban Meyer. Right, moving on to Monday Night Football. This served up as a good game as the Chargers powered to the top of the AFC West by snuffing out the previously unbeaten Raiders 28-14. The second half from the Raiders was really good. Like, their comeback attempt, but they disappeared in the first half of this game.
Granted, I absolutely killed Brandon Staley on the show last week because his play calling was bad. His play calling this week was spot on.
Mm-hmm.
In that second half, they ran the ball. They used Eckler well. They made short passes. They didn't risk it. They ended up time possession of 35 minutes because they had the lead. Fair play. I'll give him his dues this week.
Bosa came out and said that they knew they could frighten Carr basically by hitting him a couple of times and he would just give up. I thought this was really harsh. Like, okay, yes, on the last sack of the game, he did curl up into a ball, but by then he'd been hit like 10 times. And I think most quarterbacks do that because you're there to be protected by that line of huge people in front of you. If they're not doing their job, I think you're entitled to cover up the ball and just dive into the floor.
Just not fumble.
I don't see him as being any worse at that than anyone else. Anybody?
Just chatting shit, really.
We go on about Darnold seeing ghosts and everything. These sort of things stay with you. And I remember Derek Carr fumbling into the end zone once and crying. And I think he possibly is an emotional player. Bizarrely, I was listening to one of our old podcasts the other day, which was called "The Tracks of Carr's Tears," and because he has cried numerous times on the pitch, and I'm sorry, but I think I think there is a fragility about him. Gary's right, and I think as that exists, and Darnold has moved at least. Carr is still in at the Raiders, and I think he's open to this sort of thing, and I think it's going to continue. Now, Bosa said it publicly. I think he's in for a rough ride.
I was watching the highlights of this game this morning, and are the Chargers a sneaky dark horse for a Super Bowl run?
I don't even think they're sneaky. I think they're really good.
I think they're really good, but I just can't get over the fact that they're the Chargers, and I'm just waiting for them to fall over themselves.
Not the same Chargers.
Yeah, but that Chargers was let down time and time again at key times by the non-clutch Phillip Rivers. So
it's true.
Yes!
Yeah, it's true.
He's right.
Yeah,
I don't like how many times I've had to say Gary's right today.
No, it's true. I agree.
And Herbert,
And their kickers, don't forget their kickers.
Yeah, and
their kickers.
But Herbert is just making people cry in Miami at the moment.
That's
what he's doing.
He is.
Because they took Tua and passed on Herbert. And now they are just thinking, what have we done?
Yeah, I agree. I
It's
think
going to cost them so much to
even
rectify that.
The defense is now fit and it's
fit.
Brilliantly.
It was always
Derwin
great.
James is coming back.
It was always great.
Yeah.
You know.
I think if they can all stay fit, then that's a team that's got a serious chance now.
And Staley is a defensive-minded.
Yeah.
He was the mastermind behind the Rams' defense. So yeah, it's been quite smart over the last couple of years in Las Vegas and not Los Angeles, which is so non-Chargers. But yeah, they're doing well.
Before we move on from this game, I just want to know: is this a better win for the Chargers or a worse loss for the Raiders?
Better win for the Chargers.
Yeah,
I just think
That division's tight,
yeah.
isn't it?
You'd have offered 3-1 to any Raiders fan, they'd have bit your hand off.
Well, the Chiefs are 2-2 and the rest are 3-1
Yeah.
in that division.
Oh, yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So divisional matters in that.
Yeah, that's
really
why I
matters.
was
I think
question.
if Bridgewater isn't fit, then I think that
So all
almost
over the
counts the Broncos out.
Okay, 3 more teams recorded their first victories of the campaign. Justin Field gets his first win as the start for the Bears, who downed the woeful Lions 24-14. They made the red zone 4 times in the first half and didn't score.
A few of you were really big on the Lions to
I
win
was
that
big
as well.
on the Lions. I thought they would win this
They
game.
were
no
playing
problem.
really well.
Yeah.
I know they were losing, but they were playing well, and they just didn't play well.
They can't score.
Dick pick as well. You not heard that's what he's being called, the Jared Goff
Yeah.
dick pick.
Oh, what? Because it hit him in the
Bounced off
groin.
the cock and bounced straight to the players. It's been called you had the butt fumble now.
I thought you were talking about Urban Meyer again.
No, so you've now got the Jared Goff dick pick.
Well,
That was
it was. I've never seen that before. It was mightily impressive.
it was almost a chargery thing to do, wasn't it?
It was a very charging thing to do. The Colts finally get a win.
Well, hang on, coming back to the Bears. Thought they looked good, but if Montgomery's injured,
Oh yeah. So how bad is the injury?
I don't know.
Because they haven't said.
They
He
haven't
looked
said.
great, Montgomery.
He
He
was
did,
looking
but when
really
he went
good.
down, he looked bad.
Always
When
the
he went
problem with
down, the game switched a little bit, and you felt that
Yeah.
the Lions could get much more into it. And yeah, if he's out for an extended period of time,
Also, the Fields connection with Darnell Mooney. Remember him? All of a sudden, like the guy was sprinting clear, but they're talking about having Andy Dalton starting again next week, and I don't get it. I don't know why you would do that. Why would you go backwards to Andy Dalton?
It's just misdirection, I think.
It better be.
4 to 5 weeks for Montgomery being out.
Oh well. Right.
Tariq Cohen coming in.
I don't know. Is he even fit, Tariq Cohen?
Didn't make an appearance last week, so I
probably
would
not.
think
No.
Yay.
The Colts finally get a win, 27-17 against the misfiring Dolphins, and also the dogshit Jets take the Titans to overtime and win. We'll start with the Colts. I can't get excited about the Colts winning a game, especially can't get excited about them beating the Dolphins. This is why I was upset about the Patriots losing to the Dolphins, because they are seriously overrated. They don't look very good at all. They can't protect Brissett, who's actually not playing badly in relief of Tua, but they can't keep him upright. They can't keep him protected. They can't buy him any time.
I felt at the beginning of the season that the Dolphins would take a step backwards because it's just such a young team. It needs time to properly come together. And
They haven't stepped backwards. They've fallen backwards.
well, yeah, the injury to Tua. I don't know if the injury to Tua has helped or not helped or what, but
They've
it certainly doesn't
completely
help.
changed their defensive approach as well,
Yeah.
because they were a containing defense, and now Salah wants them to be a very aggressive defense.
We're talking Dolphins. You're talking Jets.
Oh yeah,
We'll come back to you in a minute.
Can we agree
wasn't
they're
listening.
both shite?
Yes. Well, I
jumped
think
ahead there.
I think the Colts and the Dolphins are both bad teams right now, playing
I must
badly.
listen to other people.
It does help if you don't just listen to your own head.
We destroyed Mo Ali Cox last week and he came back with 2 touchdowns.
2
this
touchdowns,
week.
absolutely. You should never destroy the Cox. That's basically what we've learned there.
Is there an Urban Meyer reference?
I'm not. I'm not doing it. Yeah, so the Jets.
Force it in.
The Jets. Gary, tell me about the Jets.
Well, it's quite interesting to see what Robert Salah's doing with that defense. You know, taking it from a containing defense to a really aggressive defense, and it's going to take a bit of time. You know, with a young team, but they're starting to get it, aren't they?
Yeah, I thought that defense was brilliant on Sunday. Like every
Were they? Or was it the fact that there were no wide receivers showing up for the
that
Titans?
obviously they didn't. Well, they had AJ Green, not AJ Green,
No.
AJ
AJ
Jones,
Brown.
AJ Brown, Julio Jones.
Both
They,
out.
they were both out,
Yeah.
which doesn't help.
Who was the leading receiver? Just remind me.
Jeremy McNichols,
Who is a
wide receiver.
running back?
Yeah.
He's a running back. He's not a wide receiver. Who was there?
Not based on
was
these
it
stats.
Chester Rogers?
Chester Rogers, yeah.
Right.
5 for 63.
His career is very similar in the NFL to Paul's career in the NFL.
Well, to be fair, he's made a couple of teams. He is just a
Sounds like a politician.
no other options type receiver.
No one else is fit.
Great name for a senator, Chester Rogers.
Chester Rogers.
Out of
Yeah.
Illinois.
I don't take anything for this for either team. I think if the Jets hadn't won this, it was a massive disaster because this is the most vulnerable the Titans could be, and the Titans just aren't a good team.
Can I give you my in-depth analysis of this game?
Please first.
It's not worth talking about. Can we move on?
Yeah, that seems fair, right? And there's another game not
Zach
worth.
Wilson played pretty well. Considering he's been playing shit.
He threw up some great passes. I also think a better defense would have picked him off. The Titans have got nothing. They've got Derrick Henry and nothing else. It's I don't.
What an option he is.
Yeah, absolutely. What did he get? Like 446 yards on his own?
Yeah, about that.
Something like that. Right, another game not really worth talking about. It's at the end. Rounding out week 4, the Bills become the first team ever to have 2 35-point or more shutouts in the first 4 games of the season. They beat the Texans, mainly Davis Mills, 40-0.
Davis Mills beat himself.
Oh my God. 4 interceptions and a fumble, I think. Somebody fetched me the shotgun. This was bad.
87 passing yards.
I mean, this was more embarrassing than what happened to Urban Meyer at the weekend.
What's embarrassing
There's
about
nothing. God.
being grinded by a blonde woman?
I suspect he was quite embarrassed when his wife found out.
He's a multi-millionaire doing his dream job. What does it matter? What's Davis Mill doing? He's got his dream job and he's...
Pulls a catch.
I was going to say, morals are going out the window in this show.
Urban Meyer's wife's a stringent anti-vax as well, so she can fuck off.
Okay, well, so we destroyed the Myers. Giving him a similar beatdown to what the Bills put on the Texans. The Texans are shot without Tyrod, right?
The Texans are shot.
Okay, yeah.
It was nice to see a team properly deal with the Texans.
Yeah, I
Put them
agree.
in their place and like go, you're shit.
You know when you're shit when the other team brings on Mitch Trubisky to run in a touchdown at the end. To really rub it in.
I was travelling to Griff's and I did have a little cheer in the car when Davis Mills had got more completions than turnovers. So and it took me quite a while to get there. So I think that was about 8:30 by the time I got to yours. So yeah, it's quite a while. It was awful.
Although there was fantasy managers everywhere going, what has just happened? Why is Trubisky just taken Josh Allen's...
Yeah,
That was a bit of shit. If you had the Bills' defense, you're laughing.
In the end, Davis Mills, 87 yards passing, minus 26 yards on sacks. I mean, this was as bad as it can get.
That's still more than Justin Fields last week.
Yeah,
It's true.
he was only sacked 3 times. I mean, I feel for the guy a little bit. He wasn't ready ever to play, and he shouldn't be under centre for an NFL team. But this is what you get occasionally. This team is tanking. This is it officially from this week. This team is tanking.
I don't think they're deliberately doing it, but yeah, they're not going to win it.
They've got nothing else.
If you have Tyrod, expect to have to use your backup quarterback.
It's a fair point. Right, anybody got a point after to make, or shall we move on? I will call that closed. It's power rankings time. John has collated our combined rankings to give us the Snap UK's first all 32 rank of the year. That's rank of the year. So let's wade in and see who's where, what's fair, and why I'm always wrong. John.
So there is a consensus at number 1 for 4 of the 5 people who've submitted. Ooh. Who do you reckon's got it different from the rest?
Griff.
Paul.
Gary.
Oh.
Bills, Bucks.
Right, Beyonce.
Beyonce and the lads. So
Yeah, I slapped the Bucks at number 1.
on our average, Buffalo Bills are number 1. Number 2,
The Bills did get dicked by the Steelers in week 1.
Means nothing.
means nothing. Yeah,
Look at the Steelers now.
yeah,
Running game's still. Anyway,
yeah.
I'm going to get
number-
into this. They lost to the Steelers and then dick the Texans.
So at number 2, we have the only undefeated team, which is the Cardinals. Then the Bucks. There's some difference between them, but ranging from Jim has the Rams at 2 and Gary at 8, but they're 4th.
Yeah.
Then it's the Packers. Generally, everyone's got them at 5. Chargers.
Sorry, John.
That's right.
There's a reason why I had the Rams a bit lower, and obviously the Cardinals are higher. So I tried to think about things such as strength of schedule, obviously where they sit within their division, all sorts of different bits. I didn't just look at the record, and I suppose that's why I had them there, because the Packers are out in front in their division. They're looking very secure. So when I looked at it, then I started mixing it up a little bit.
They do have to play the Lions twice this year, and that's guaranteed wins.
So,
I mean, to be honest with you, I just went with my gut. I just wrote 1 to 32 and just shoved it in.
Well, yeah.
Analysis.
So yeah, we'll go down the bottom because there's no surprise.
Learn things from Urban Meyer.
Talking of Urban Meyer, who's at 32, John?
It is the Houston Texans.
Oh man.
Jaguars at 31. Someone did have the Jaguars at 27, which is just fucking insane. No offense, Griff, but you're wrong. Then the Lions, Jets, Falcons, Giants, Eagles, and
did anybody have the Giants above me?
Where did you have the Giants?
Where were you ranked?
Fourth.
Griff, and you both had them at 26.
Oh, I had them at 27.
Yeah, everyone basically they've come in at 27 because everyone had them between 20.
Where did people have the Steelers? I think they're an interesting team to rank.
They are 24th overall. They range from I think Jim had them at 20. Oh no,
20,
I had them at 20.
22.
And but they go down to 28. But they're not the team with the biggest difference in opinion. Anyone going to guess? We haven't mentioned them so far.
Raiders,
Vikings,
Chiefs.
Oh.
So they go. Gary has them at 3. Griff has them at 12. So, like, for a team that I can understand both reasons, because the defense is awful. So, and it's really, really bad, and they haven't got many receivers. The bottom of their division, but also they have Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and at some point, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to learn to hold on to a ball.
He's been okay though. He's still scoring touchdowns.
Yeah,
and Mahomes is a generational quarterback, isn't he?
I just look at the teams. I put the Chiefs 7th. I look at the teams above them: Bills, Rams, Bucks, Cardinals, Packers, and Ravens.
I had the Cowboys at 6.
Yeah, I think out of those teams, that would be the only point at which I'd think about betting against the Chiefs. Everyone else, I think I'd still put money on the Chiefs.
Where are the Browns, John? Because I think they might be the highest we've ever had them in a power ranking.
it's the highest we've ever had them at week 4, where they are 10th, just below the Ravens.
Front office will have a nosebleed.
Yeah, and yeah, Raiders range from 9th to 15th, but we've got them at 12th overall. But yeah, as well, Bengals at 14th in our average, which is the highest they've ever been on our power rankings ever. So well done to them. 49ers, after the Bengals, it's the Seahawks, 49ers, Titans. No one can seem to get the Titans. They range from 10th to 22nd.
10th?
Yeah.
10th.
Yeah.
As a team, they're difficult to beat.
As a team, I think they're very easy to throw over. So I had them at 22nd. So yeah, it's very much all to play for still. But yeah, it's
we'll look
an
back
interesting
at
start.
In
As
about 10 weeks, we'll look back and go, what were we talking about?
Yeah, John keeps a record. So
I do keep a record, and whatever. But yeah, at the moment, I think like the Broncos are 3-1, aren't they? But I think everyone's taken strength of schedule into account there. Like, so it's interesting, but yeah, no one can seem to get the Chiefs and the Titans. There's some teams that we're sort of confused about.
I said before we sat down, and I certainly said to John, I think the Patriots are the best team with a losing record at 1-3. I think they're easily the best team with a losing record.
But where are the Patriots, John? Because I had them quite low.
So did I.
Patriots on our average are 20th. Everyone's sort of got them around, so 18 to 23.
I I had the Vikings above the Patriots, only by one spot.
Yeah, and your who's I'm sorry, bear with me. Griff had the Vikings at 16th, which meant that as an average they finished above.
I had them at
the
17.
I think the Vikings are a toilet, but yeah. So yeah, it's and yeah, below the Patriots, it's football team, Colts, Bears, Steelers, Dolphins, and Eagles.
Thank you, John. Paul, a Cleveland frown for us this week or not?
I've got one.
Yeah. Is it good?
Well, it is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Is it Urban Meyer?
No, it's
then-
the Khan family. Because they've actually started looking slightly better. They've actually looked like they could be in a game. They've actually, Trevor Lawrence is starting to look better. They seem to be growing into this team. They just barely lost to the Bengals, who are a decent team. And all anybody's talking about is a 10-second video. Because he came out and addressed it. Yeah. I don't think there's any other teams that would do that. I think there's a lot of teams that would have just ignored it.
I don't know how you ignore that. How? You telling me the Steelers wouldn't address it if Mike Tomlin was seen getting ground out in some sort of club?
But here's one of the first problems. Mike Tomlin wouldn't be seen getting ground out in a club.
And that is exactly the point. What was Urban Meyer thinking?
And
He'll be back in college so fast.
This is a team.
Per college, probably.
I'm not letting you guys have the Urban Meyer the piss on Urban Meyer party, right? But
is that what he was paying?
Yeah. That's that front office there. The way that team's been managed. What are they now? 0-19 as a record?
Yes. Well, they went 1 and then lost
16,
15,
yeah.
16, 17, 18, 19, yes. 19. 19 consecutive defeats. They need 4 more to break the record of consecutive defeats.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
Embarrassing.
I am embarrassing, yeah, but I'm not running a multi-million pound sports team.
Just to point out, USC are still looking for a head coach after sacking their coach after the first game. So don't be surprised to see Urban Meyer in California next year.
I agree with your point to some degree. I don't think you could not address it though.
I don't agree with your point because he didn't do a funky little rhyme, and nothing.
Yeah, that is true. It's very disappointing.
It was quite disappointing.
Well, I thought the one was going to get Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
Right? Are you happy? There it is.
Whilst we're doing news, the Washington football team trainer was arrested by the DEA yesterday, which we need to wait for more details. But that's a little bit interesting, I thought.
I will take this opportunity to segue from Paul's Cleveland frown to somebody bring me up the Jacksonville Jaguars next 3 games. Because I think you're going to start seeing some wins coming on the board here.
Well, they play the Titans next.
Yeah, and I think they might win. Because I think the Titans are screwed right now. And I think the Jags can beat them. I have picked the Jags to win a game this week. I feel dirty. Not as dirty as Urban Meyer, but I feel dirty.
You're not far off. After the Titans, they got the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Which is winnable.
So if they win one of those 2 games, they're off the slide. And I can't remember what the third one was in a row.
Seahawks.
Yeah, they're not going to win that. No, fair enough. But they could conceivably win one or both of the next 2.
It's always been a terrible division, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It does feel like it, yeah. Between
is.
the Texans and the Jags, and actually the Titans as well.
Yeah.
It's not been great over a period of time. The London game this week, we mentioned it earlier. Falcons-Jets, whoa, at White Hart Lane. God, they send us some right dross over, don't
You
they?
can get tickets from as low as $295, apparently, according to ESPN. What a waste of money.
Why don't they ever send any good teams?
Well, they do, but then they put them against a shit team.
Yeah, why? Why don't they ever
They never send us a good game.
Why don't they ever send us Chiefs-Bucks or, Bills-Packers or something? That's what we want.
Because there's money in that, isn't there? There's people aren't interested in Falcons Jets for mainstream television figures and ratings.
That's why the Jaguars are pretty much set up camp over here, because no one cares about the Jaguars in the US.
That's true. But still, we're looking forward to going. Yeah,
I can't wait. It'd be nice to see football for the
Other
first time in 2
fixtures
years.
from this week's crop of games. What do we think stands out to everybody?
Well, we chatted about the Bills at the Chiefs. So that's I think,
Anyone here not taking the Bills? Because I am taking the Bills confidently in that game.
yeah. So
I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Okay.
I've got to after my power rankings.
John? Paul.
Bills.
Ah, okay.
Browns Chargers is a great game.
Is it? I think the Chargers might kill them.
Oh,
Really?
I don't. That defense, I think.
Yeah, that's a great
I
game.
think that's a big test for the Chargers. Well,
I like the Chargers at home. I think they win that one.
Football team versus the Saints, because I've got no idea what will happen. Literally no idea.
Yeah.
And then in the NFC West, you've got the 4 teams facing off again this week. So Rams at the Seahawks, Niners at the Cardinals. So they've gone back-to-back with divisional games.
I'm quite intrigued to watch the Packers against Bengals, just to see if the Bengals are the real deal. I think that could be an interesting match.
It's too early for that. The Packers should win that fairly.
I would think the Packers will win it. I don't think it'll be comfortable. The Packers' defense is still
Cincy
amazing
as well.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing if the Raiders can come back and beat the Bears. I think they should beat the Bears. But how many times have we seen John Gruden win one game, lose one game, then another game, then another game? It happens. They get on a roll. They get a hot roll and then a cold roll, and they just can't seem to get out of a slump once they're into it. And the Raiders could easily lose that at home.
No, sorry, not without David Montgomery in the Bears lineup.
No, that's true. If he's out, like you say, so possibly. But it just feels like they get into these slumps, and this could be it.
A Khalil Mack revenge game to make Carr shed some more tears.
Yeah, I can't see it. I think that's a nice game back for the Raiders.
Steelers should win against the Broncos if they haven't got Teddy. But if Teddy is fit, I would take the Broncos.
Yep, I completely agree. I would say the Panthers will beat the Eagles.
Any more on this week's fixtures?
No, the rest of them look pretty shit.
I'm really going to look forward to watching the Patriots get a win against the Texans.
Sorry.
If you lose, I can't wait to play that back.
I can't wait for next week if that happens.
Won't be the first time we've been wrong.
I think we're safe.
You just never know.
I got too intense looking at the fixtures. We did mention Chargers Browns, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good, yes. Carry on.
I love how people in this podcast can't talk and listen to this podcast.
So about the Cleveland frown I want to give you this week.
Have you heard about Urban Meyer? Right, thank you very much. That's everything for this week. Let's wait and see what fun Urban gets up to this week. Now he's an urban legend.
He's got a trip to London coming up soon. I mean, there's quite a few bars there he can get up. And he's, a bit further away from the wife.
You literally suggested Urban drop you a note. I might know of some good hotspots for you.
I suspect his wife might be coming with him this time. I cannot see that she's going to be staying at home babysitting anymore.
I don't. She's vaccinated. I don't think she can come.
That's a good point.
And actually, as well, the Athletic pointed out that the Jaguars are the third least vaccinated team in the league. So that might be
A few players left behind.
Yeah,
It's almost like they're criminally mismanaged.
Yeah, you'd think on a team run by Urban Meyer, getting a little prick wouldn't be a problem. Anyway, with that, thank you and good night.